Blind Raven. One summer evening on a hot and muggy day, a crow who didn't have as long a life as other crows was anxiously watching her chick in their tiny nest, which was nestled in a dusty old sycamore tree at the house of one of the town's wealthy folks. She was puzzled by the chick's movements and behavior, which were nothing like those of ordinary baby crows. It was strange. All baby crows, when they first opened their eyes to the world, would chatter about how big everything seemed and think the world was made up of straw and garbage. Then as they got out into the open, they declared that the world was made of leaves, and their mother would correct them, gathering her beak and saying, "No, no, the world is made of sycamore trees, iron and wooden fences, metal roofs, radio antennas, and filth." And honestly, she wasn't wrong about the last part. But this poor little chick didn't say a word or make any silly noises because it hadn't even seen the world yet. Still, its mother didn't realize this, so when she noticed its strange and confusing behavior, rolling around at odd times and dozing off unexpectedly, she immediately rushed off to the neighbor's doctor, a crow who was darker than usual and wise, experienced even. As soon as the mother left, the blind chick fell from the nest. Poor little crow rolled onto the stone floor beside the pond. A little while later, when the mother and the wise doctor came back to check on him, they found that he was gone. The unfortunate mother crow was hardly selfish. She didn't leave that dusty old sycamore tree, but stayed right above her blind chick and called out to him from above. But for some reason, she didn't dare to step down and find her little chick to pick him up and take him back to the nest. She wasn't even thinking about that. Or maybe she was scared of humans, since she'd heard so many horror stories about them since she was a baby and had no fondness for that group. From morning till night, all she did was sit in the tree and caw away. What a wild and furious cawing it was. It carried both sorrow and dissatisfaction with fate, along with a fear of being alone. Her constant noise drove the household crazy. They were fed up with her relentless cawing. From morning till evening during those summer days, on top of the sounds of buses, taxis, bicycles, beggars, motorcycles, and Tehran radio, having to endure that ear-piercing crowing was really exhausting. Especially since they couldn't just toss the chick out. After all, Parveen, the 8-year-old girl of the house, had developed an odd attachment to that helpless little chick. This attachment might have been some leftover instincts bottled up inside Parveen that hadn't had a chance to express themselves naturally. Parveen had learned music from a talented teacher since she was a kid, and now that she was 18, she played the violin really well. But it's important to say that she had poured all her feelings, instincts, and even her entire being into this learning. She had given up her beauty, health, youth and love, and all she could do must play the violin beautifully. Her whole life revolved around her Italian violin. All her desires, dreams, and youthful fantasies were tied to it. Along with the timeless and majestic melodies she created with her delicate fingers. Parvin embraced her violin so tightly that I doubt even a lover would hold their love like that. She would surrender her chin to the violin with such strange eagerness and glide her fingers over the four slippery strings with so much passion and longing that it felt like she was worshipping an idol. It held all her memories, and in her mind the image of that Italian violin was a beautifully crafted bronze instrument, its end bent and twisted in a way that seemed more graceful than 100,000 curls of beautiful hair. Four black pegs connected to four strings. It represented every lover she could imagine. Even when Parvin reached maturity, she didn't really grow up or embrace youth. There was no youthful spirit in her. Her love for music just intensified and became more obsessive. She cut ties with all her old friends and devoted herself to music. Honestly, it was more like they distanced themselves from her because they couldn't handle the strange exaggeration in her nature anymore. Plus, they had moved on and didn't need Parvin's simple affection. They wanted something more complex, filled with anxiety and worry, hidden meanings, double dealing, whispers shared among friends about love and separation. And Parvin didn't pay any attention to that stuff. In short, whatever remains of instincts she had left, or a bit of spiritual alignment, led her to focus solely on that little chick. When she saw all the crows taking off in the evening, heavy-hearted and sad, flying into the sky and cawing as they headed off on some unknown journey, it made her feel a deep sorrow. When blind raven endured this misery with its sightless eyes wide open, lying flat in the yard under the sycamore tree with wings spread out that were of no use to it. It would sometimes take a few shaky steps and then become so exhausted that it looked like it was about to die. It trembled, surrendering to its grim fate with its half-open, dusty wings. The immense loss weighed on it so heavily, an instinctual awareness of what it was missing, that no other crow could understand such suffering. When it heard the flapping of its fellow crows above the old sycamore, it felt so alone and abandoned that the loneliness hit it hard. If it had a throat to cry out, it would have surely torn its clothes like a human in despair. But all it could do was drag its beak along the ground. Besides its mother's monotonous cawing and Parvin's kindness and affection, it felt nothing else and found no joy in everything. But to be fair, Parvin took care of it with such incredible patience that she didn't even think about herself. While everyone else worried about Parvin, she didn't seem to have any worries of her own.